Hello, listeners. Welcome to our 5th episode of our brand new 5th season of Mind Your Business podcast. My name is Mia Gomez.
My name is Carlos Mora, and we're the hosts of this podcast. We want to give a special shout out to STTE, powered by the Maximo Center for Innovation and Commerce, where we help students and recent alumni to start and grow their own businesses. Be your own boss.
Today, we have a very special guest with us, Maximo Gamez to my left. He is an entrepreneur who graduated from UTEP, and now he's using his entrepreneurial skills to go further in his career. Welcome, Maximo.
Welcome. Let me start with the first question, Maximo. We're very glad that you're here, but let us know a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from? What do you study here at UTEP? And what are your hobbies?
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, Mia, Carlos. Appreciate it. Well, as you know, my name is Maximo Gamez. I studied engineering, innovation, and leadership here at the university. At that time, it was a very new program. I was in a different engineering degree, but then the name kind of attracted me, and then I joined it, and I loved it since then. And I always preach about to other engineers, to other business people, to think about it for if you're aiming to do more startups or more venture. And I graduated in the class of 2022 in May, so almost a year ago. A little bit over a year ago. And I've had the opportunity to, venture a little bit in venture capital and startups, entrepreneurship, and, just really had a good time there and exploring all these different opportunities that are there for students that sometimes are unknown for people like us, especially in this region.
Yes, that's something very important. And I if I can say something, that is that a lot of my friends went through the elite program, which is engineering and leadership.
Yeah. And
they got amazing opportunities in so many fields. Because we don't only promote entrepreneurship, but we promote everything that helps the UTEP students. So Elite is a great program, and I can attest it. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
I remember back in 2020, Maximo, when I met you in the Blackstone competition. Do you remember? I remember you used to always talk about the Elite program, and I was like, damn, I should have chosen that one. But my next question is, what was your experience like being in the Elite, and how do you think that career helped you to be in the position you're at right now?
Great. So I'm always preaching about mentorship and opportunities, and especially networking. And in that program, I got to meet a lot of the professors that kind of guided me towards the questions that I had at the time, because it was very unknown. And I was always asking questions, how does this work? Why does that work this way? And how do you get into this more? And in that program, I got to meet a bunch of professors that had, tons of experience in different aspects of running businesses, starting nonprofits, and just teaching education and engineering overall over many years. And I got very lucky. I can just say I'm very lucky. I've been blessed. And from there, when I started my first year, I got to be a teaching assistant. And that's where I got the opportunity to kind of see both sides of the spectrum of being a student and also an educator. And you could see what really worked for students and what didn't, how they actually learned and what were the actual benefits of when you're teaching a lesson a certain way. And you see how sometimes you go ask for the extra credit, last week of finals. But from those experiences, I got to see kind of what educators are looking for in students and kind of what makes a good student and when people actually want to learn, which is something super important, being curious. You can always see it in someone's eyes when they want to learn. And it's not just for the aspect of the grade itself or passing that class, but it's because they really want to discover something and expand their mind. It's something cool to see.
In keeping in that, talking about classes and professors and coming to UTEP, what is it like to be involved in entrepreneurship programs like STTE, Blackstone, and the Maximo Center for Innovation and Commerce, and also being a student, how difficult it is, and how do you overcome the challenges that come with it?
It's definitely possible. Again, I've been very lucky that I've had the opportunity to pursue those things. I know there's people that have certain circumstances in their life that doesn't allow that. And having that opportunity myself, I feel like it's something that I can't waste. And that's when I try to take advantage of most of it I can. And in those settings, I think I first started with entrepreneurship in the hackathon that was hosted a couple of years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago now, by Microsoft when the El Paso Strong thing happened. And they were hosting that, to kind of get the morale up and produce entrepreneurship in the ecosystem. And here in this region, I got to participate. I got invited by someone to do that competition. And we ended up not sleeping at all. We came over here to keep working. We didn't sleep for 2-3 days. And then we were sleepless, big eye bags, and we were presenting our idea, something that we had, put a lot of effort in. And we were presenting an idea that allowed for students to connect with each other at that time. And that idea's evolved over the years. But when we presented that, we ended up actually winning the education track for that thing. It was like, whoa, I guess we got money. Yeah. Yeah. For us, it was like, okay, cool, lunch money. At that moment, we weren't thinking serious about the venture. It was just like, okay, now we can all buy Chipotle for the next week, we're set. And from there, I just love the sensation of that and like the experience of the adrenaline. And I love being under pressure sometimes. It just, gets the best out of you. That's when ideas come. And I decided to partake in more of those competitions. And in one of those I competed with Mia. And in that one, it was cool because we competed against UT Dallas, UT Austin, all these big universities with big names and a lot of resources. And when we didn't get first place, but we ended up getting second and beating a lot of those universities. Wow. It felt very good, like showing them that, hey, UTEP has some talent too. So that was awesome to see. And then from there, another one. We always ended up placing, never first. It was always never first. So I was like, what are we missing, right? But overall, winning those competitions, it allowed us to pursue, the idea later on. But it also gave me a sneak peek into entrepreneurship, venture, how funding works, and how entrepreneurs are really interested in a lot of their ideas, but sometimes they don't follow on or they don't continue because either be life circumstances or just different life goals that they have overall.
That's great. And I love that you mentioned that even though you didn't necessarily get first place, you still went back there and did all the best you could. And I think that's just great because honestly, now that I've grown and I've been through a lot of stuff, I'm like, okay, well, that's just a number. It's the experience that you get, the networking and everything. You gain so much experience. So I think we did great either way.
It's actually pretty important because sometimes the people winning these competitions, they might pursue it a couple months afterwards.
Yes.
And the people that did not just have that fire inside of them to prove people wrong. Like, you know what, I didn't win it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to raise money, or I'm going to build this product, or I'm going to get X users. And these people are usually the ones that actually continue with their idea and don't give up because they don't need to be seeing the green light all the time. Sometimes you're not seeing any progress, and people get frustrated and then drop it off or leave it. But these people continue going forward, and that's super important. That's a lesson that you got.
And that's part of entrepreneurship. You will never get yes all the time. You will never go to meet someone and be like, oh yeah, I'll give you $1,000 million. That's not gonna happen. Exactly. You're gonna get a lot of no's. So if you get the experience beforehand, that's amazing too. And that you get experience like this at UTEP, that's amazing too. As you said, you were competing with bigger universities, maybe that they have more resources, talking about money, and still you were there competing and you didn't care where you come from. How amazing is that? Indeed, you placed as well. That means that they saw you. Maybe they had one little thing that was different than you. But never give up. That's something that we can catch from here.
Exactly. And you learn how to grow thick skin, and I think that helps you
thick skin is super important in this game. Yes. Yeah, you got to have super thick skin because there's gonna be people that tell you your product is bad, or no one's ever gonna buy this. Why? How did you even think of this? This is never gonna sell. And it's where you gotta put your vision forward. You also gotta take feedback. You gotta learn. It's hard to distinguish sometimes good feedback, and then sometimes people fill out telling no, and it's hard to find a point where to pivot or where to switch or just learn when you gotta change towards a different venture. And I felt very lucky because at the same time during the pandemic, I was going through. I was gonna go do an internship at a University of Madison, Wisconsin. I was going to do research over there. And I've had a lot of times where I've switched my career path throughout the university. And I was going to go do neuroscience research. And I was super ready. I was excited. But I was learning all these terms. And they were very complicated. I was like, whoa, these are very hard. But at the same time, the pandemic happened. So it canceled. And when that canceled, an opportunity popped up here in the region where we could learn venture capital directly from a venture capital investor, Dr. Beto Payares. And he opened the Fire Venture Fellowship, which the second cohort just happened recently. And in the Fire Venture Fellowship, the first, I think they call it Fourth Industrial Revolution Economy. And there we got to see deals. We got access to things that you don't get to see until 2-3 years into your career in venture capital and in the industry. And it was crazy to see all these things. And you got to see that in this industry, you get to work with some of the brightest minds in the world, creating the newest products, companies that are servicing big societies. And it's crazy that you get to be there in the room with them and hear their insights on how they're thinking and how they're strategizing and how they're gathering all this capital to make that vision happen. And that you get to be there. And if you're in the venture side, you get to help them. And if you're on the entrepreneur side, well, then you get to make that vision happen. And it's awesome seeing that. It's because you get first dips into all the new technology. And second of all, you're making things happen. Super cool.
Yes.
It's great that you mentioned all of those programs, because I think that it's very important to surround yourself with like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
And my next question, I think it goes kind of hand in hand with what we just talked about. What was like your most challenging situation that you face, either as a student entrepreneur or right now in your career, and how did you manage to overcome that?
Yeah, I think the most challenging one was probably about a year. No, I think right after I graduated. So I decided to pursue the startup that we had, and it was hard to see progress. We kept working, we kept, 8 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. It was, working late nights every day, but still not really moving the needle. And it was something that you realize that just because you're putting more hours in doesn't equal effort. I mean, no, hours doesn't equal results. So not just because you put a lot of hours doesn't mean it'll equal to the outcomes you want. There, you got to work smarter, and you got to know how to be like more efficient and actually apply those learnings to avoiding those traps, those failures in the future. And there's going to be a lot of things that are unavoidable, and you can't avoid it all. But there's a lot of things that you can prevent. And this past year, and when I was pursuing the venture with my fellow classmates that we created this with, and it was just becoming very hard to see progress, and it was becoming very tedious. But at the same time, I was meeting all this network of entrepreneurs as I was working from what we call the STTE Foundation Center. I think you guys have been there. And in there, I got to meet all these entrepreneurs, these investors, all these just people collaborating within the region, that it was easier for me to decide, what to do next. And that's where opportunities just arose. And it's just a community of people that, have your back and help you out.
That's fantastic.
And let me ask you, how was your transition when you graduated? Like, I'm a graduate student, like, and then enter again to the entrepreneurship field, but more in a professional way. Because at UTEP was like as a student, right? Yep. But now, how do you enter this path?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's easier to pursue entrepreneurship while you're a student because you're still studying and you have those free hours. But after you graduate, it's like, if you say you're an entrepreneur, it's like you don't have a job, Yeah. And so when people tell you that when you're somewhere, it's like, oh, okay, so you're jobless. So it was hard telling my mom, Mama, no voy a agarrar el trabajo que me ofrecieron. And she was like, what? You're crazy. And yeah, declining some job offers as an engineer, especially when they're very high paying. And right now, it was very hard for my mom to digest. Like, you went to school for all these years for nothing. Like, what are you doing? And for me, it's like, no, just trust. Like, I'm your investment, give it some time. So they were very patient with me. Again, I was lucky to have parents that could support me, and they had always been, telling me like, keep going, don't give up. And I feel blessed because of that. And when I had those people around me, including the community of members in the region, it allows you to pursue your dreams, on another level, like with more, with less fear, I should say, and with more initiative and more fire. And once you graduate from college, so then now it's very different, because it's not, when you're a student, a lot of people want to help you because you're a student. You're like, oh, he's learning or she's learning, oh, it's okay, está aprendiendo, But then when you're outside, it's like, okay, you should have known this, or how come you haven't done this yourself? So it's a harder barrier of entry when you're a beginner. But the point is to show that you're coachable and that you're learning and that you're actually advancing. And those are very important to show the people that are helping you, because if not, they'll stop helping you. Like this, I keep telling this guy, like, improve your business this way or that way, and they're not listening. It's, why am I going to keep helping them? But it is I wouldn't say it's a huge difference, but it is something that people should be ready to change for. Yeah, look out for it.
That's great. And Maximo, I want you to tell our listeners, please, just a little bit, like a brief overview of what you do at your work,
yep,
how they can contact you, and who is able to apply with you guys.
Cool. So I'm helping out in a couple of things around the region. My main goal, along with the people that I'm working with, is to increase entrepreneurship in the city. The reason for this is we have what we call the brain drain. That's what we call it, at least. And that's UTEP creating all this talent of people in finance, people in engineering, people doing business, people doing arts. And they can't find a high-paying job in the city. So they have to move to other cities like Austin, New York, LA, Seattle, to find those opportunities. Now, what we want to do is people can actually, when they graduate, find a job that they want to stay in their hometown. Now, it's great to explore and go out and meet other cities, But there's a lot of students that want to stay in El Paso, but they know they can't because they don't get the salary that they're looking for. And that's very important once, coming from a 88, almost 89% Hispanic university. And a lot of times we are the first time of students entering college from our families. And what we want to do is bring entrepreneurship here, bring more headquarters here, create business here, create startups, create, the next Apples, the next, all those big companies. And our goal by doing that is by helping young entrepreneurs, just like the way I've been helping, passing the baton and helping other people join either the venture capital side of funding entrepreneurship and startups, or them themselves starting businesses that are tech enabled and scalable. Scalability is super important because that allows the investments to return. And yeah, that's what I would say.
And is there like any upcoming projects or initiatives that STTE or any place that you're working right now that might help this mission?
Yeah, so STTE is one with Joseph Sapien, and now we partnered up with the city to create a ventures program, which I think we accepted 2 or 3 UTEP students recently. And in that program, we're helping 5 startups a year for the next 4 years. And what we're doing in that program, we want to help the startups increase their users, increase their revenue, increase the amount of people they're hiring, because that shows that they're growing. And in those 4 years, we want to give them a venture sprint every semester. And along that journey, as they're learning, we want to help them, prepare them, kind of mentor them so that they're ready to present. And for example, Dia los Muertos, the biggest event that we have here for entrepreneurship. That's what I consider the biggest one we have, because we bring investors from all over the world. And have them ready so that they are ready to receive capital. They're ready to receive all this funding from these companies and actually make an impact in the region. And right now what we're looking for is just pursuing their ventures. So pursuing your startup, creating your own business, especially tech enabled is what we're looking for, is one of the key metrics that we're always looking for here in the students in the region. So pursue that, get help from Synergy, Blackstone, and pursue those things.
Great. And you guys heard that. Make sure to follow us in our social media, which should appear somewhere in the screen right now. And yeah, make sure to stay updated in all of the flyers that we post. We will always post all of the events that they are having so that you guys can apply. So yeah, stay tuned.
For the fall 2023, we will have a lot of events, around 20 events, pitch competitions, networking events, mixers. And a lot of those will be with STTE. So you're invited to all of those. Just wait for us to post them on our social media and then RSVP, and you're invited. If you're a UTEP minor, you're invited to all the events that we're going to plan as well.
We hope to see you guys there. Following up, Maximo, with my last question, what entrepreneurial skill do you think young students should cultivate for them to succeed in their work?
It's a great question. And I'd say one of the most important, I say there's a lot, right? But one of the most important ones is coachability, because there's people that think they have an idea and no one else understands them. But you got to learn how to listen to feedback and actually perform and use that feedback to move further. And if you have an entrepreneur that's super smart but is not coachable, it's kind of hard for an investor to make the returns with that company, because they're not following mentorship or guidance from these people that have been in the industry for a while. But also someone that's willing to put in the hours and not giving up in the first try, because you're gonna get a lot of no's. Just like you said, you'll get mostly no's than yes. You gotta get one yes and like every 10, 20 no's. It's just like in baseball, with the batting average, as long as you bat 30%, you're an all-star. So same here, as long as you get, funding, you're going to get so many investors going to tell you no that they're going to get through before you get your first yes. And it's going to be super hard. And it's very deteriorating, because, you don't know if, like, am I the problem? Is the company the problem? But the skills that you should kind of harvest is not giving up, first of all, but also seeing trends and analyzing kind of what's the word I want to use? Seeing patterns is key, because if you know where something else is going to be in the future, you can build something for when people actually get there and actually execute on that. And you're not late. You're the first one there, and then you already knew that this was going to happen, so you already knew the behavior that these people are going to actually perform. And seeing those patterns allows you to move early before your competition does, and then just act. So those are the two biggest things: coachability, seeing patterns, and not giving up.
I agree with those.
Yeah.
And as we have mentioned as well, like past guests have mentioned those as well. And we think it's very important, especially in entrepreneurship. Especially in entrepreneurship, you don't wake one day with your bank account like full of money. Like it's something you have to work on, and a lot of no's. Even like the ones that you're gonna receive in your life. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to add those no's into your life. And I remember a professor from last semester, Dr. Jimenez, he told me that he works in sales. Mm-hmm. So he said someone that works in sales or someone that is an entrepreneur will receive so many no's that the day that they receive a yes, they will be like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, are you sure that you want to invest in my business? Yeah. But never like give up on your dream, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like, you put so much work in something that you believe on and you dream on. So that's an advice that I can say for the young entrepreneurs.
I agree. And with all the no's that you will get, there is always going to be one person who's going to believe in you. So just stay there and yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is that one person, right? But sometimes you are that one person.
Exactly.
Yes. So supporting people is super important, and not bringing them down, but providing useful feedback.
I agree. Yeah. Thank you so much, Maximo, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me.
It was truly an honor to have you in this episode. STTE, the Mike Loya Center for Innovation and Commerce, and the Blackstone Launchpad wants to thank you, our listeners, for your constant support.
Stay tuned for upcoming episodes, but never forget to always mind your business.